Hey, Rainy Joe here, and today we are going to be listening to the long-awaited Kanye West Dolla collaborative album, Vultures 1. Even though this is a collab project between Kanye and Dolla, I think most people are checking this out for Kanye, given the plethora of controversies he's been in since his last release, Donda. And despite these controversies, I still remain hopefully optimistic that he'll have some sort of artistic bounce back and bring himself back to the glory days of his music. However, I will say I was not the biggest fan of Donda personally, but I did think his 2018 outputs were pretty strong overall, and I do think it is possible that he could give us another great album at some point down the line. It's just, at this point, a little bit of a risky game considering his politics and who he is as a person typically shrouds a lot of his releases. And Vultures 1 is certainly no exception to the rule, given the very controversial cover at the time of release, the way he treats his wife, and just, of course, the anti-Semitic remarks and the uncleared samples that are on this thing that I've already heard about. But I have not listened to this album. I have not heard a single song from this album. This will be a fresh listen for me. And again, I still am a fan of Kanye, artistically speaking. Not a fan of him as a person, but at this day and age, that's a good thing. But here we are with Vultures 1, 55 minutes long. Let's just jump into it. It does have Dolla on it, and like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Dolla, never have been. But let's just hear it with stars. I know we got JPEG Mafia on this as well, which is a pretty big deal. But again, a lot of controversies around that. Those drums right off the bat feel very Peggy influenced. JPEG Mafia. I do like this beat. But this is only a minute 55 and it has not grown that much. In terms of its lyrics, it's pretty lackluster. Okay. You know what? A minute and 55 that one was. And it was a pretty ethereal sounding track. It did kind of bring me back to that classic elevated Kanye sort of sound where it kind of feels like you're floating. But again, it's quite short, only 2 minutes. It doesn't really develop much further than that. And on top of that, lyrically, this thing was pretty bland. And the line about having Jews on his payroll, as if that's some sort of important flex or forgiveness. Not too sure. He's definitely going to slip a few Jewish lines throughout this album. I'm quite sure, given how many controversies are around him now. Next, you got Keys to My Life. First track was a little iffy, but hard kick. He's got some mommy issues to work through for sure. That's no surprise. Alright, there's Ty. Hold on. The Couldn't It All Be So Simple sample from Wu-Tang, completely coincidental. I just want to say that that's in the background there. Was not planned, swear to God. I've just been listening to it a lot lately. It's one of my favorite rap albums ever. Has been for years. But man, splicing it in there was certainly a shock. I don't think he's really doing a whole lot with it. But as a fan of Wu-Tang, I do like to hear it. Just not sure if I care for it in the context. But I'll be fair, I'll keep listening. And then it's slides right out. It's very brief. At least he doesn't abuse it. Ooh, I didn't like that impulsive line. Kind of a sloppy delivery there. Production-wise, it's been fairly clean so far. I feel like at this point, it's kind of expected. Hold on. No. I take back what I just said. This end section, the production, the mixing of it, it just sounds so lazy. And also, like, cluttered. trying to layer a lot of vocals on top of each other. I don't think it works very well. But other than that, I do think that track was interesting, to say the least. Let's go right into Paid. Again, I'm trying to give him his fair shot here. I do think there are some elements so far that certainly stand out. Like a club beat here. Not sure about that delivery. The Roxanne interpolation quite what is this delivery he's trying to do? This weird off-key screechy delivery is certainly not working for me. I think Ty Dolla $ign's he's doing his job at the very least. Maybe he is just there to get paid. Ty Dolla $ign looking for that paycheck. We're only 2 minutes in. This beat is getting quite repetitive and just boring. I'm not really feeling this one at all. As it goes on, it just becomes more annoying. Okay. What is this weird club beat that he's trying to really like work hard into the mix here? He's not doing it very well. Yeah, let's just leave that one off the track list. That was not a track I'm gonna go back to very often. Again, I do give every album I listen to at least three listens minimum before I give a final, opinion on them. But maybe Paid will be a track that grows on me, but I'm sincerely doubting it. Did not love it for a first listen. But here I was talking. I know it's North, and I know she's just a child, but I don't want to hear it. Who wants to hear this? This ain't the Wiggles. This is a boring track. Northwest Aside, this is a boring, bland, just like poorly developing track so far. We're just gonna keep hearing this same sample as if it's supposed to grow a little bit better. Certainly picking up overall at this part. That classic rising ethereal tone of Kanye. He's really repetitive on this album though, driving a lot of these lines home. Okay, next we're going to Back to Me. Drum sample here is great, this drum break. That's a classic Kanye line. I can't hate it too much. Not the first time he's referenced Urkel either. Absolutely crazy to have a song like Talking with his daughter on it, and talking about wanting to be a better father figure and such, and then just directly objectifying women right in the next track without any disregard. But that's Kanye. He's always been an all or nothing kind of guy, so he's really repeating this one a lot. What is with him, like these half-baked tracks where he just repeats the same thing over and over again, and the beats just kind of become repetitive as well? We're halfway through this track, and I'm assuming there's going to be a beat switch to change things up, but you can't always rely on that. You gotta develop a bit more slowly without just repeating. Guarantee there's going to be a beat switch, and it won't feel earned. Maybe there won't be a beat switch. Is this really... I do like that sample that's kind of circulating around there. It might be a hot take. I never thought I'd say this, but I think Ty Dolla $ign is bringing more to the table than Kanye. Oh, is this Gibbs? Freddie Gibbs? His delivery, his flow on this is just like clean. I think he's certainly like the highlight of this track. God damn. Okay, this is like, damn. All right. I gotta be honest. I gotta be fair here. Like I said, I don't want to be biased just because this is a Kanye album. I gotta say, Freddie Gibbs certainly elevated that track, certainly brought it back from the grave, in my opinion, because I thought that first half was quite slow and repetitive. It didn't really do a whole lot, but I thought Freddie Gibbs, his delivery and his lyricism on that line, or that track, I should say, was just pure, unadulterated, uncut, just directly to the vein. A pretty good performance, and certainly elevated that track. But Hood Rat is the name of this one, if it wasn't clear from the lyrics here. Got those gospel tones, a staple for Ye. I don't even know if I have to say the obvious here, but this lines like this were fine when Kanye wasn't as unhinged, but in this day and age, you know, he's got to prove himself a little bit better than doing these very overly explicit, almost shock value-esque, misogynistic lines, because what does he have left? I find a lot of these tracks feel very underdeveloped. Like they definitely could have used more time. This like Hood Rat sample is like so much louder than the rest of the mix for some reason, and it's so annoying. I'm over it. It's not as good of a sample as he thinks it is. Like it's definitely louder than his vocals. Yeah, I don't know. That was I don't really have much more to say other than what I said during the reaction, which is repetitive, bland, you know, misogynistic, kind of your typical Kanye fare at this point in his career. Like I said, was not a huge fan of Donda, and this kind of just feels like some of the continuation of those ideas, but more half-baked in a sense. Next we got Do It. Also feels dated in today's, you know, rap-focused industry. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I feel like rap has surpassed a lot of the elements and themes on this album. It's got a much more club-oriented trap beat on this one, and quite a few of the tracks really have that more club focus, I think. I guess he's trying to go just for more of a fun approach than anything. I do like the variation of the beat here is at least a bit more unique. Alright. Other than some unique detours in the production on this one, I'm not caring for it. Thematically, lyrically, it's really bland and feels just like it's regurgitating a lot of the same boring, misogynistic, meaningless droll that we've heard. But next we're going to go to Paperwork. Again, I'm trying to be fair here. There are some elements I certainly do like so far. Ooh, I like this more industrial tone. It's grimy. That's something. It's certainly more nasty than a lot of the beats we've heard. I just want to say my favorite thing about this album overall so far has been the production. I think a lot of the beats, not all of the beats, but I think a lot of the beats stand out. Lyrically, I do not care for most of what's being said here. I think it's quite bland. And it's been heard time and time again from him. Stylistically, this album is quite all over the place. I don't think it's as cohesive as some of his other albums. But he's been messy for quite a number of years. And I mean, Life of Pablo is probably my favorite album of his. I do think it's his best album. And that one is also stylistically all over the place as well. So I guess I can't complain too much. I just don't know if the styles that he's blending here are as interesting or of the time that Life of Pablo was. But here's Burn. Like this one right off the bat is a lot more groovy and clean. Up against that last track, which was just super grimy. This feels like a kind of throwback Kanye delivery. Even the track, I think this is one of the better tracks, actually. I'm gonna hit like on that one. 1 minute and 50 seconds, and you know what? Let's just pause it. Burn is without a doubt, calling it now, my favorite track here. It is a pretty solid track that feels like a throwback to the old Kanye. Kind of feels like original pre-2010 in a way with some of his delivery. It was groovier, more laid back. I liked that. Wouldn't mind an album like that. That's, you know, maybe a nice short, sweet album like that from him. And lyrically, I thought it was one of the better ones. But again, most of the album is very all over the place. I thought that one certainly was a highlight so far. Fuck something. Wonder what this is gonna be about. Kind of reminds me of Suicide Boys, and like just the horrorcore elements as well. Who would have thought that that's what this would be about? It's like that. He's trying to go back to that Chipmunk Soul era. I don't think it's working with the beat though. You can't just pitch it up and call it a day. The beats on here are certainly the better elements because, like, lyrically, thematically, I do not care whatsoever about this same old drivel we've heard so many times from him. There's only so many times you can hear about him wanting to have sex with some, whore, as he likes to put it often. So many times you can only hear him demean women in so many different ways before you're like, all right, I got it. What else do you have to say? But this beat is certainly the more standout element. Those drums feel maybe Chipping Mafia infused. They're very hard. Yeah, like I said, good beat. Not much else. I think the energy was high on that one, which is something. Next we got Vultures, which was the single, unless it's been changed. Most likely has been, but did not care for the single. Did not care for it. I thought it was really boring. Thought it was really bland. But what a unenergetic, uninspired flow. Really bland. Where's the passion? Who is this? Who's rapping here? Surely it can't be Kanye. Bump J. Bump, Mr. Bump. Sorry to break it to you, but this is one of the most bland deliveries I've ever heard in my entire life. It is so sleepy. I've heard Nav rap with more energy than this. That was disgustingly bland. There's a little Dirk. He's just whatever. I could take or leave him. I don't really care, to be honest. Some of the worst bars I've heard so far that's come out this year. I've heard the 21 Savage album, the Kid Cudi album. As far as rap albums go, those are, I think, the biggest ones I've listened to. And what are these bars from Kanye? Got pregnant in a threesome, so whose baby is it? Whose baby is it? He really thought that was a line worth repeating. Yikes. How can something so high energy, so bassy, so just like grand in sound feel so incredibly boring and just empty? I don't feel any passion in what I'm hearing here. But going into the next track, we got Carnival, which is the biggest track here. What is this intro? Head so good she a honor roll. She riled the dick like a carnival. And this is the track that has the most streams, eh? It's got that sports fan element. This is for the bros. For the dudes. I don't know. Maybe this just isn't my style of rap anymore. pull up in the trenches like Columbine. They're repeating bars now that are not even good to begin with. At this point, I just think lyrically this album is so severely lacking. Even if like the beats are polished and clean and offering up some sort of energy that is at least worth grasping onto, not that the last track was, they're completely tainted, I think, by the features that are often just really bland, by Kanye, who feels like he is at his lowest artistically when it comes to his lyricism. Not that he was ever the greatest rapper ever or anything, but there's at least a bit more substance before, which is gone. Hell of a life. He sampled himself there. It kind of worked. I like that little switch up, but it doesn't really go anywhere. I love when he samples something for absolutely no reason other than to go, I know that one. Like that Wu-Tang sample earlier in the album. Sure, he referenced the "couldn't it all be so simple" with that line, but it kind of just comes into the mix and fades out. And for what? That's a classic Kanye line, but I'm not, I don't care. Very manic. I don't know. Cool beat idea. Cool sample. But everything around it, I don't care. It's so, I don't care. This is not a good chorus. It's so unfunny. Alright. Next one. We've got Beg Forgiveness. 6 minutes. His longest track, I think, so far. Is Kanye being a bit more introspective on this one? Who's singing? Who is this? I don't really care for it. Sounds like he's doing his best Bo Burnham impression. Oh, it's Chris Brown, everyone's favorite abuser. He's not even good with his typical high-pitch regimen. You know, scandals aside, Chris Brown has never been a good artist. I've never heard a Chris Brown song and went, yep, this is a banger. Even on Life of Pablo, I did not care for his part on Waves. I typically just do not like his voice. And pitching it down here, I guess it saves it from me going, oh, that's who it is. But it's not making me go, I want to listen to that. So there's no winning with that. That whole first half of the track is just so boring. It's so repetitive. Definitely could have been cut down. Condensed a little bit more. Okay, I'm liking this. I'm liking this part. Maybe this outro will save the track. I still think it's a bit too long. This might be, Ty Dolla is really making this album at least somewhat enjoyable, which I did not think I would ever say. You know what? I like the second half of that track. I did not care for the first half, but I thought it certainly flourished towards the end there. Kind of just cuts off and goes into the next track, which I guess was removed. Good Don't Die is not on the track list here. So we'll just have to go past it. Burn was removed. Why is Burn removed? I just listened to it. It's now grayed out. While we were listening to it, it was removed, which is a shame because it was my favorite one so far. But we've got Problematic. Maybe it's just a glitch. I don't know. Ooh, that felt kind of like the Twisted Fantasy era. A lot going on here. The horns in the background are a nice touch, but I don't know if they're really complementing the rest of the instrumental. A reference. Maybe a knockoff. I don't know. I'm kind of tied on this one. There's certainly some elements I liked, like the horn sample, the production. I thought his performance actually was pretty clean here. He had some like decent quotable lines that felt very Kanye. Okay, here's King closing it out. I feel like the last track was so heavily it mixed much louder. I don't know if king is the word I would use anymore. He has considered, heavily to be washed up at this point. I mean, he's making numbers, but I don't think for the same reasons he used to. Like everybody's just watching his downfall. Okay, I gotta pause this. His vocals, 100%, are mixed lower than everything else here. They should be brought more to the forefront. Even with, turning it up, trying to hone in on it a bit more, the mix here, I just don't think I think his vocals could definitely be brought forward a lot more. Like, Kanye, where are you, Kanye? You step away from the mic? Like, I don't understand. You see, he's just regurgitating lines. Only so much we can do that before it's like, where's the substance? Yeah, it's never been one to honor deadlines. Alright, that's it for that album. Closing out here. A lot of hard cuts throughout the album as well, which I think kind of speaks to the almost unfinished nature of the album. But that's going to close out the album here. My favorite track is Burn. I don't know why it's even removed my like from it. We're going to re-like it. But Burn was most definitely my favorite, I think. I thought the beat and the, overall tone of it just felt like kind of like that classic Kanye, but what he could have been if he went down that route, which is something. I'm certainly getting something on this album. And I think a lot of the production, the very industrial tone of it kind of feels very Yeezus inspired, while at the same time definitely feeling like an evolution of what he was doing on Donda. But it's super messy. It's super all over the place. Lyrically and thematically, it's just a lot of the same, misogynistic party tracks that I feel like he, for some reason, really seems to enjoy making nowadays. They don't feel like there's a lot of substance behind them. Hood Rat is probably the best example of it, and it is just such a bland, repetitive track. That sample of Hood Rat that he keeps just repeating is in no way interesting. The mantra just kind of runs out of steam pretty fast. Problematic was an interesting track. I thought the way he delivered that one and the beat underneath him definitely felt more focused, like he's putting a bit more energy and passion into what he's talking about. It had some classic Kanye lines. The mixing, though, like I said, some of the mixing, such as on King, the vocals are just, for some reason, so much quieter than the beats, which may be a good thing, because, again, I think the beats and the production are definitely the more standout elements, but maybe that comes down to how many people were producing on this thing and helping Kanye. And Freddie Gibbs as well, his verse was definitely a standout element too. I thought it was pretty clean, pretty direct, and just had a good sense of flow throughout it. But I don't know. Vultures won overall. It's certainly not one of his best, and it is a mess. But considering I was expecting like just an absolute terrible, unlistenable album, I guess I'm more impressed with it than I would have thought. That being said, this is not an album that I'm gonna give anything higher than like a 6 down the road on multiple listens. I don't think it's really gonna climb up the ranks. It's probably gonna rank right below a 5 if I'm being completely honest, because like I said, as great as the beats and the production are on all of this, and definitely feel like that's where the polish went, the lyrical and thematic elements just hold it back from what could be a nice comeback album for him. But at the end of the day, I'll say this, separating the art from the artist. I think he has done worse albums than this. Maybe? I don't know. It's too soon to tell for me. But as far as first listens go, I think I enjoyed this more than I did Donda 2, if we're counting that. I mean, if we're counting Donda 2, let's just be honest. That is an atrocity. That is a terrible, no good album. There's not a single track on Donda 2 worth listening to. But I don't know if we count that in this day and age. But that pretty much does it for this video. And as always, if you like this video, please hit like, subscribe, follow along in listening to more albums that are going to release this year, as well as other series that I do on this channel where I lately have been showcasing certain genres pertaining to different months. This month we are doing a lot of folk albums. So if you like folk music, which, you know, maybe you're a rap fan who likes to dabble in folk, then go ahead and follow along for those videos. But as always, my name is Randy Joe, and I'm signing off.